How did I get to be standing on a hill in Portugal, looking at a rainbow? I was 4 when my mother hooked us up to a cult, which promised everlasting life on a paradise earth. Fear, obedience, patriarchy, no birthdays or Christmas followed. The 60s witnessed many people looking for spiritual answers to war, fear and division. Some found psychedelics. Others knocked on doors, warning of Armageddon, around 1975. I left that community spiritually battered at 28 to be shunned by family and friends. With no education, I soaked up knowledge and experience and arrived raw at university, a community of sorts, of information and shared learning. I made some friends, but was still unpacking and healing the many aspects of what it means to be human, to be accepted and loved. I didn't realise that I subconsciously wanted and needed a new community. In the early 80s, I visited some alternative communities and landed in Findhorn. I remember feeling overwhelmed by what I saw in the community. It seemed to me quite chaotic. In the 90s, I visited Skiros, and that's where I met Eva, a musician, and I started to understand a little bit more about friendship and trust. Eva had a musical community, but we both craved a spiritual community. She regularly visited India and her guru, returning to play with the BBC Orchestra of Wales. We would speak regularly and share our feelings, what was going on, the latest drama or events in our lives. We were a comfort to each other as we shared our often confused journey. My work in policy meant travel, which helped me to recognise other aspects of community, such as Indigenous and local awareness. In the early days of the internet, I managed a project called Women Connect, which aimed to network women's organisations. My path crossed with the consultancy group at Findhorn, who helped with processes, both personal and organisational. I started to understand that a community such as Findhorn provides a whole range of understanding of how process and interaction with people and a spiritual connection can be a force for good, both in a global way and in a personal way, even if you don't physically live in a spiritual community. Eva and I came to Findhorn together around 2003 for the winter gathering. It was like treating ourselves to a community in a cold, snowy season. We laughed a lot about our choices while revelling in what brought out our passions. For me, it was books, writing and travel. For Eva, it was her flute and piccolo. That year I walked the labyrinth and picked up an angel card, the Angel of Grace. I didn't understand what grace meant. I now believe it's benevolence, a free gift of peace and ease. I don't remember the angel card Eva chose. She disappeared suddenly and I found her outside the Universal Hall. She was angry and upset and trying to calm down. She said that someone had bumped into her just as she was going into the labyrinth, and so she trounced out of there. We took our time and wandered to the cafe and talked over tea and cake about what this could mean. We concluded that community living is often a healing opportunity. Eva died suddenly in 2017 at just 46. She was and still is a sister that lives strongly in my mind. A week before her death, she played Flight of the Bumblebee on her piccolo, dressed as a bee, as part of the proms. She believed classical music was for everyone, and anything that she could do to introduce people to the joys of listening and learning and playing, she would do. It was a community activity for her. I'm still on a journey of healing, but also of acknowledging what works. Some of the aspects of the Findhorn community that I've tried to integrate into my life are love in action, listening, growing and sharing food, connection to a still quiet voice, meditation and singing. The last time I visited was for the 2019 Climate Change Conference, where I combined my love of writing into reporting. After the conference, my husband Jim and I shared our experience in the local library in Tavira, Portugal, where we're both retired. That's how I came to be looking at this rainbow on this hill. I'm appreciating and enjoying the online offerings from Findhorn, which has strengthened my feeling of being part of a community in my town. I feel connected to a kind of family of writers, spiritual companions, vegetable growers and artists. We're finding each other serendipitously without effort. It's starting to look like a kind of Findhorn where I am.